15 is all about playoff positioning in the NFL as the contenders try to separate themselves from the pack. The Titans have their eyes set on another AFC South title and perhaps a deep playoff run with the potential return of Derrick Henry. But they need to take care of business at Heinz Field against a Steelers team that desperately needs a win to keep their postseason hopes alive.
We will not be bashful about turning the stones over.
Elsewhere in the AFC, neither the Bengals or Broncos have made the playoffs since the 2015 season. But opportunity awaits for the victor as Burrow leads Cincy into Mile High.
I feel like we're a good enough team to make the playoffs, but it doesn't matter if we don't win this week.
In the NFC, the top seed currently resides with the Packers. Aaron Rodgers might be gutting out a painful toe injury, but is playing at an MVP level yet again, and will look to lock up the NFC North for Green Bay in Baltimore against a hobbled Ravens team.
We need to execute a little bit better, especially as we move into these critical games where it's going to be win or go home.
And on Sunday Night Football, the Bucs have a chance to win their first NFC South title since 2007 against the Saints at the Pirate Ship, although the defending champs obviously have much bigger plans.
We have a chance to win the division this week. Let's get it done.
Who will seize the moment with playoff spots up for grabs? We might be in for another wild week across the league.
Oh, let's go. Week 15 on tap. Some moving parts, but we're going to keep you up to speed on all the action and all the number movement as well. Pats and Colts, big time action in prime time. Colts laying 2.5 at home. Bengals and Broncos, meanwhile, going after each other a mile high. Falcons and Niners going to tee off as the Niners try and keep their ship afloat and headed towards perhaps a playoff berth in a murky water NFC right now. The Ravens and Packers both dinged up to certain extents, but the Ravens, they've been fighting it all season long. Pack touchdown favorites on the road. All right, let's get out to our friend in the desert, CBS Vegas insider Todd Fuhrman. Always has his finger on the pulse of any and all changes across the board. Todd, let's start with the big-time measuring stick out in the AFC. That is a conference for the taking right now, or at least it seems. The Pats trying to state their claim to it. They're going to try and keep pace with the Chiefs, while the Colts, they look to continue their postseason surge here on the shoulders of Jonathan Taylor. New England coming into this one, getting a couple of points, combined 17-9 ATS on the season between these two. Where's our edge?
You know, honestly, Joe, it's maybe the crown jewel of the entire NFL schedule, Saturday night under the lights at Lucas Oil Stadium. And I think when you look at this game, it's all about the irresistible force and the immovable object in the form of Jonathan Taylor, as you alluded to, against the Patriots defense. It's been extremely stout against opposing ground games this season. And you look at the numbers the defense is putting up during this winning streak, they're allowing a shade more than a touchdown per game. But I do think there's some noise in those numbers, and a case where Indianapolis is going to be able to exploit some of New England's deficiencies, mainly in the trenches. If they can get Jonathan Taylor on track, it'll open things up for Carson Wentz and company to take advantage of Michael Pittman, Zach Pascal, T.Y. Hilton, and some of the other more unheralded pass catchers. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ball, I think Indianapolis is getting healthier defensively. We know Darius Leonard needed this rest, and he is a downhill force. Plus, you factor in New England playing a little bit depleted at the running back spot. No Damian Harris, so arguably means a bigger workload for Brandon Bolden and Ramondre Stevenson. I know it's tough to fade Bill Belichick as an underdog, especially with extra time to prepare, but Frank Reich did it to him a few years ago in the Super Bowl, and I really believe the Colts are one of the more undervalued commodities in the AFC. I like Indianapolis to win this game. I'll back them on a very affordable and reasonable money line here.
I like that play as well. In terms of the NFC side of the conversation, Todd, the Pack, they're back in the driver's seat, and the road ahead looking like nothing but green lights right now. Final month of the regular season goes Ravens, which used to mean something completely different. The Browns, who are just trying to field a team right now. Then the Vikings and the Lions. But for the purposes of this week, they're going to travel to a dinged-up Baltimore team as 7-point favorites. That line moving to a full 7 not long ago, about halfway through the day on Friday. Lamar did not practice again. What do the numbers tell you about his availability, and how are you approaching the matchup?
You know, Joe, I like how you conveniently left out the minor speed bump that Green Bay encountered last Sunday night. At least for a half, the Chicago Bears look to be a live underdog.
I've seen the movie. I've seen the movie, Todd.
And then not so much. They went into full-blown hibernation in that second half. But when you look at the game this coming weekend, I think it's fascinating because odds makers weren't sure of Lamar Jackson's availability. As you mentioned, he hasn't practiced all week. John Harbaugh has been pretty coy about his availability. But even if Lamar is able to go dealing with a lower body injury, you have to imagine his mobility is limited. And if you can make Lamar a purely pocket passer, I think it plays into the hands of the opposition. So as this number climbs to 7, once Lamar is officially ruled out, if that's the case, I think Baltimore makes a ton of sense as an underdog. But because we're not there yet, I don't want to make a case for the underdog. Instead, I'm going to go over the total at 43.5. When you look at Green Bay offensively, we know they can spread you out and throw with the best of them. This is a Ravens secondary that is extremely limited, especially with another key cog going down a few weeks ago in Marlon Humphrey. Baltimore's going to bring pressure, but if you blitz Aaron Rodgers, it's buyer beware. I think Tyler Huntley can do enough to make this total comfortable for us. We saw him shine against the Chicago Bears. He was good in relief last week against the Cleveland Browns. I think there are going to be a few more points on the board come Sunday between these two teams than odds makers lead you to believe.
You know, I like the thought process there. And it all comes down to the thought process at this point of the season. We're wading through tons of information, tons of data points that we have at this part of the year. And sometimes you look at the board, it all makes sense. Sometimes you can't make sense of one. So we'll let you do the work for us here. Take us to your favorite wager against the number here Saturday, Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday.
You know, we talked about it a little bit earlier. It's the Indianapolis Colts. I'd love to make people wait until Sunday, but I think this is a spot that Indy's been waiting for all season. When you look at how they've performed over their last 10 games, I mean, this football team is 7-3, and they're a fumble late against the Tampa Bay Bucks of knocking off the defending champions as well. This is an Indianapolis team over the last 5 games averaging a shade less than 35 points per contest. I'm not sure New England has the firepower if Indianapolis gets rolling downhill to match them score for score. This has been one of the sharper moves on a total we've seen this week as well. Opened up at 44 at Caesars, number out to 46. I think you could see it leak a little bit further. And everybody wants to gravitate towards the Patriots that are the flavor of the month, the team to beat in the AFC. I really believe the Colts will have something to say, not just on Saturday night, but before the dust completely settles on the entire AFC playoff picture.
When in doubt, fade perception. Doubling down there with an Indy play against the number. But let's talk numbers strictly. Sometimes you can't make sense of a side, so let's go total. What's your favorite total? Either one you think they got wrong, a couple points in either direction.
You know, before it started to move, I would have made a case for the under in Sunday Night Football between the Bucs and Saints. That number from 47 down to 45.5 with Sean Payton being sidelined. Instead, we'll root for points aplenty in the Bay Area with the San Francisco 49ers playing host to the Atlanta Falcons. I think when you look at this 49ers team, you talked about perception. So much is made of how good this defense is and how they can only be one-dimensional and run the football. That couldn't be further from the case as the secondary is nicked up and it creates opportunities for opposing passing attacks to have some success, as we saw Joe Burrow do in the second half. I know Atlanta's a little bit limited in the weaponry department, but I do think Kyle Pitts provides a little bit of a matchup nightmare for the 49ers to encounter. Meanwhile, on the other side, Jimmy Garoppolo has stretched the field. He's throwing deep, and I think that gives the 49ers a chance to not only score, but score quickly, knowing that Deebo Samuel will be a week removed from his groin injury. We've seen how dynamic George Kittle can be catching balls across the middle and displaying that physicality we've grown accustomed to. And I think this is the kind of game where Brandon Ayuk can build on that momentum scoring touchdown against the Bengals. I really believe we're talking about this game creeping into the 50s.
All right, we'll see if those two offenses can do us one better than 46.5. That's Todd's favorite play on a total. In terms of the Pats and the Colts, night action on a Saturday, can't beat it. Money line, Indy, short price at -135. Just take that 2.5 out of the equation. Raiders and Browns, Cleveland, and over the 38. A lot of moving parts there. So maybe lean towards the total as we get closer to kick and we know more. Packers and Ravens, meanwhile, play that one over the 43.5. Best wager against the number. Take those Colts, laying the 2.5 as well. All right, Todd Fuhrman, always good for wagering wisdom, not just picks, and he's gotten me away from parlays, but we got to scratch the itch at least once a week here. We need your parlay play in Week 15 of NFL action.
You know, Joe, I know you have a lot on your plate with the holidays looming, stocking stuffers, and trying to take care of the folks back home. So hopefully this helps send things in the right direction. It's a trio of favorites here, although the number earlier in the day, you could add the Steelers at a slightly better price as one of our legs in our parlay. We're going to take the Dolphins and look to go against the Jets on the money line. I think they can cover this price, but want to eliminate the notions of the back door being open. When you look at the Steelers, for as bad as they've been on short rest, this team is 14-1 straight up. The last 15 games, they've had extended rest. We know how good Big Ben and company can be at Heinz Field with their backs against the wall. And a move that I know won't be popular because I think a lot of people like the star power that the Bengals bring, but they're banged up. And I think this is a Denver team trending in the right direction, getting healthy defensively. So we'll back the Broncos here, and we'll use them on the money line in a parlay instead of laying the price at 3, knowing this ship has sailed when Denver opened right in that 1.5 range.
That is our guy, Todd Fuhrman. You know it. He's always on the money. Thank you, Todd. All right, let's look at that parlay play one more time. Dolphins money line against the Jets. It's obviously going to take your payout here back down to earth, but it is another leg to this 3-leg parlay that'll bump you just a bit. Steelers money line minus the 110. So that's the one you got to keep your eye on. Broncos, slight favorites there at minus 160 as well. Nearly 3-to-1 to your dollar from our Todd Fuhrman.